Thank you so much, Nashlie Sephus, for joining us this morning with the Bean Path. We've got a room full here at Velma Jackson High School in our STEM class, and we are recording this for our friends, all of our STEM students in Madison County Schools at Shirley Simmons Middle School, Germantown High School, Old Town Middle School, and Ridgeland High School and Madison Middle School, and also our computer tech students. So thank you for fitting us in. I know you're extremely busy, and we did look at some of your news articles and some of your videos just all over the internet, tearing it up right now. And obviously, we want to talk about the Bean Path and the Jackson Tech District you have planned. And we got some great questions from the students we're going to get to. But before we get to that, we'd love to hear more about your background growing up in Jackson, going to Mississippi State and Georgia Tech, and how you got into computer engineering and over at Amazon as well.
Awesome. So you've already done a lot of what I was gonna probably show. So that's good. We can get right to it. Please do excuse me. I am getting some tires changed on my vehicle. So that's hence you see the rims in the background. But yes, thank you all so much for allowing me to come and speak to you today. I have a big passion in my heart for youth, especially in Mississippi. As you all know, we get a pretty people have this certain perception about Mississippi, wherever you go. And I work in Amazon as well. And so I travel a lot, East Coast, West Coast, New York, DC, California, Seattle. And, again, people have this perception of what it is like to be a Mississippian, to live in Mississippi, to have grown up in Mississippi. But I know that there are so many, great things about the people there, and we have a lot to offer. And I do everything I can to, show up and at least present them with a different view of what the state is like. And so very excited to be speaking with you all today. I have a brief set of slides just to kind of show you all. I'm trying to see if I can pull this up, share my screen. Okay, so make that. Okay, yeah. So this will be pretty brief, and then we can get to the questions because I'm excited to talk to you all. And so I'm Dr. Nashlie again. I've done several things. Started a nonprofit, worked in corporate America, got a PhD from Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Did my undergrad at Mississippi State, and so I have a plethora of perspectives to offer to the tech industry and what that means for Mississippi and the future of Mississippi. And so I always like to show this picture. This was my first computer. I'm sure I'm a lot older than y'all, so y'all probably heard older people talk about dial-up. So these are back in the days when you had to just take a whole day to download one song, right? And so, and if my grandmother got on the phone, grandma had to use the phone, so I had to get off the computer because that everything ran through the phone service. And okay, thank you. And so we had to use these little floppy disks, which barely held like one file. Yeah. But it wasn't all bad because you got these speakers on the side of the computer, and then it really blasted the 3D sound in your ear. So anyway, this was the age of computing that I came into, and you all are so much farther ahead in advance. And one of the things I want to make sure is that people in Mississippi have access and exposure to the new and upcoming technologies. And so, like I mentioned, I actually went to Murrah High School, graduated in class of 03, was in Power APAC at the time that they changed the name to Wells. I played the piano there. I also played tennis. I love DIY things, building stuff, very hands-on. So I grew up in a house full of women, my mother, my grandmother, my sister. So we did everything. We fixed things. We mowed the yard. We hung the ceiling fans and the Christmas lights. So I've always been a very hands-on person. I think that kind of led to me becoming, an engineer. I majored in computer engineering at Mississippi State, and then on the same at Georgia Tech. And I also love a good bargain hunt. So I'd use my experience at Georgia Tech, at Mississippi State, at all these places to, just really take advantage of all the opportunities that were allotted to me. So I had an opportunity to study abroad in France.
Wow.
I studied abroad in Seoul, South Korea. I worked at interned in many places, IBM, GE, and just a plug. I know this is a STEM class, so majoring in STEM fields, you can make a good living for yourself. Even as an intern, we were getting paid, what a new employee would be getting paid. In some of the other fields, not to throw shade on the other fields, but fields like PR, communications, a lot of times you don't even get paid for those internships and working, but we definitely did. And so I like to show this picture. What I'm curious, and I know I'm not there, but I'm just curious if you all can think about what all these things may have in common. And that is actually AI. And so artificial intelligence, which is actually my area of expertise. So that's the area that I studied at Georgia Tech, and that's what I do at Amazon. I actually work on the AI or artificial intelligence team at Amazon. And so a lot of times people don't really know what AI is. And so I know you all probably know, but I'm just going to tell you just in case. So artificial intelligence is basically using lots of data in the past so we can understand and use computers to help us recognize similar things in the future. And so when you talk, I know many of you probably have cell phones. You have AI in your pockets right now. These are algorithms and computer programs that do this. Basically, the way that Siri can understand you saying, "Hey Siri," or "Okay Google," or "Alexa," is because it has studied several people saying those same things in the past, and now someone created an algorithm or this computer program that learns a model from all those past people saying hello or saying goodbye. And now it knows how to recognize that in the future. The same thing with voice face recognition. So if I have my phone, I want to unlock my phone. When you take good pictures of your face, you may in a well lit place, no mask, no, things on your face. It should recognize it pretty well. But you notice, like when you have your mask on, it's hard sometimes for your phone to recognize your face. Well, because it didn't learn that bottom part of your face, and that really affects the algorithm. And so this is how artificial intelligence works. And so I'm going to do a quick crash course on AI. And I know you all are. What math are you all taking? Is this like pre-algebra or
everything from foundations of algebra to algebra 1 to geometry? I have mainly 9th and 10th graders in here.
Okay, perfect. So you all should resonate with this pretty well. I want to give you a quick crash course on AI and how it works. All right. So you have the world on one side, and you got this machine or this algorithm, right? You usually give it some input, like either I'm speaking into it or I'm taking a picture and sending it to that machine, and then it's gonna give me an output back. AI, another word for AI, by the way, is machine learning. Or ML, machine learning. So keep that in mind. So how does all this stuff work? Well, there's a lot of stuff that goes on inside of that black box. And so I'm going to explain kind of how this all works. So if I were to help me out, because I'm not there, those who are cat, so there's usually cat people and dog people. Like usually it's not both, but there may be both. There may be some. So I'm just curious. Everybody who's a cat person, raise your hand.
People raise your hand. We got one cat person.
One cat, okay. Everybody's a dog person.
I'm sorry, 2 cat people. We got 2 cat people.
Okay, 2 cat people. All right.
Dog people.
Any dog people?
Yeah, the rest
out
is
there.
Yeah.
They're right. It's usually more dog people. I don't know what it is about the dog.
Mississippi thing, and we're in the country, so I guess that's
Yeah, I guess so. So let's say we're trying to decide between the difference between a cat and a dog, but we couldn't see it. So how would we be able to tell? Oh, thank you. So how would we be able to tell the difference between the two? Well, let's say that we're going to use weight and length. All right. So if we were to plot weight on the y-axis and length on the x-axis, this is how your plot would look. So let's say we were walking down the street, we couldn't see, but we were to measure the weight and the length for the first 7 dogs that we see walking down the street, and we will plot them like that. So, for example, We have one that's about 20 centimeters long. It's like it's about 4 kilograms in weight. And so let's say we're do the same for cats. And we're gonna plot the cats in green. And so we found the next 7 cats and it ended up being plotted in this region. So how can we tell the difference between the cats and the dogs? Well, we can create an equation for a line that goes straight through the middle. This line is actually an algorithm.
Wow.
All it does is it says everything above this line is a dog, everything below this line is a cat. And that's how it works. We've just trained our first algorithm, AI model. Now, what if our cats and dog plots look something like this? That's harder to distinguish the difference, right? With just one line. So what do? We just get more lines. And so this algorithm, of course, it's more math, it's more algebra, it's more equations, but it basically says everything in the center is a cat, everything on the outside is a dog. Now, caveat, we're assuming that all cats and dogs fall within this region, right? But what if we go to California and we plot the 7 or 8 dogs that we see there, or we go to New York, there may be totally different size dogs, totally different weights of dogs. Maybe they have bigger dogs out there. Maybe we got bigger dogs as we're in Mississippi. So it really depends. Your data really drives everything. So you may notice sometimes those voice recognition algorithms, they may not work for our voices because we have a heavy Southern accent. And I'm kind of trying to speak proper now, but if you get me on the phone with my mom or my sister, like it's gonna come out. And so we have to consider how AI works. If we didn't train the algorithm on people with Southern accents, or if we didn't train the face algorithm on people with darker skin, then it's going to have trouble recognizing those things in the future.
Wow.
And so
about that. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So this equation is actually like more parameters, it's more lines. Before we just had weight and length, right? So X and Y. Sometimes it gets so complicated that we can't even write it in a way we can visualize it on a 2D or a 3D axis. And so it gets really complicated. So for example, I'm going to give you a real world example. So we were just using 2 or 3 parameters to distinguish between dogs and cats. We can also use color. We can use their hair length. We can use several things. This is actually an example of an algorithm that we train to determine if a skin sore or a skin lesion is cancerous or not. Now, when we train these algorithms in the real world, I'm just curious, can anybody guess maybe about how many parameters or axes we use for this type of algorithm?
So just by looking at the chart, it looks like about 12.
It is definitely more than before, but it's actually 100 million parameters. This is how it works.
Wow.
And this is so many. You think about how much math we had to do in our heads for just the cat and the dog, the weight and the length. This is so much computation. We can't possibly do this as humans. I mean, it would take us years to figure out. So that's why we use computers in the cloud to help us compute all these things really fast, which is actually what AWS does, Amazon Web Services, where I work. We can talk about that on another day, but that's pretty much how it works. So bringing it back full circle, I was fortunate enough to work for a company called ParkPic. So we created these algorithms to help recognize parts. You take a picture of them. And so if y'all may have seen this in some of the videos, but we created these algorithms to recognize parts. You take a picture of it and we will recognize it. This is actually an example of, this is actually on the Amazon app. If anybody has the Amazon app on your phone, you can click the camera button and in the search bar, and you could point it at something and it's going to recognize it. So that was what we created. And so again, it works the same way. We trained on all these things, all these algorithms. And I was fortunate enough to be able to sell that company to Amazon for multi-millions. Just want to let y'all know this is real stuff. People really pay good money for this. At that time, I joined Amazon. Our whole team did actually. And then I came back. I said, okay, finally, it's time for me to come back home to Jackson and do all the things I've been wanting to do, which is starting the bean path, which this was actually before COVID. We've been virtual since. So we used to meet in the local libraries to give people free tech help. And then I said, we actually need a space because we're growing. We were at the point where people were lined up outside the library to talk to us. So I went downtown. I said, well, let me find a place that downtown Jackson. I ended up purchasing 14 acres of land in downtown Jackson. This is actually the corner of North Gallatin Street and a mid street. If you're familiar with the King Edward Hotel, the bus station, the Amtrak station, the Greyhound station is right at the corner. Jackson State is maybe like a mile away. Capitol Street is like right around the corner. And we are transforming that area into this. So there will be several new housing. There will be more companies, tech companies, more tech jobs. We have an event center. This is an old barn that's located downtown. So we're transforming it and revitalizing that whole neighborhood with several things. And we have a lot of partners helping us with that, including Amazon and including some of the other companies like IBM, the city, the state. So lots and lots of partners. And so I just wanted to leave you all with that because anything is possible. I'm from an area called Shady Oaks in Jackson. They often say nothing good comes from there. But again, these are a lot of stereotypes that people have about us, our state, our communities. But it doesn't have to be that way. So I'm going to switch back over now. If you have any questions, I want to make sure we got enough time. Y'all at least get a few of them in.
Sure. Well, I actually had a few questions about the tech district.
Okay.
Well, first of all, really cool information. I was educated on that. So that's really cool how all that stuff works. But, one thing, we've had several speakers throughout the school year. And one thing that's been a common theme is that, like, for example, we had an IT pro here in the Mississippi area that's with the Department of Revenue. He doesn't know anything about finance, but he makes sure they're able to do business. So how important is it for people to keep getting these tech skills and these tech jobs and these software and hardware skills so our economy can function? Because like you said, people are paying good money to be able to do business.
Yeah, it is very important. I often tell people whether you're in the tech STEM field or whether you're in journalism or whether you're in the medical field or whether you're in sports or an athlete, you still have to know how to use technology. And the more you know about it, the more you know how it works, the more you can actually think of these new ideas, this new innovation, maybe potentially start your own company or at least make your day-to-day life better because you can now use these tools to help, create these little things to help just make your life easier. For example, you mentioned business. So we have a lot of small businesses we work with at the Bean Path, and we help them set up things like, social media, web page. We show them how easy it is. A lot of times people are just intimidated because nobody's there to show them. So you can be a part of this movement and learning about these emerging technologies. When I say emerging technologies, these are things that they aren't even teaching in college. These are things that you can learn, by watching a YouTube video. So cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, there's cybersecurity, there's artificial intelligence, there's the metaverse. We do a lot of programming with the metaverse at Bean Path too. People are hanging out in the metaverse. They're going to concerts. They're having their business the same way your business has a website on the internet. You can have a social media. You can have a metaverse presence where people can come in and shop in your store. And so the future is so far beyond what it was even when I was younger. And again, that's why we need to make sure that everybody understands, where we're going, what these technologies are, because you all literally are the future. So we're depending on you to come up with the next big thing.
Yeah, and I have one more before I get to the students' questions, and that is, these STEM and technology fields are different than other fields, and like you even alluded to that. Now, what's more important? And again, we aren't advocating. I'm not trying to convince people to do one thing or the other. I just want these young people to know that there are several options for them to be successful in these tech fields. Me and you both went to traditional college route, and we have our college degrees. But these tech fields, are they more worried about people that have the experience with the programs and the certifications, or are they worried about somebody that has a degree in computer science or computer engineering, because you can hear both sides of the coin. Because right now the military, with all these IT jobs they keep creating, where people can go and get trained for 5 years with the newest technology and then can start working immediately. And also our local community colleges are able to offer 1 and 2 year certifications where they're able to work immediately. So what do you think that path has to offer for for someone that maybe doesn't want to do the traditional college route, but wants to work in this field?
There are so many people who don't have the traditional degrees that are working at companies like Google, like Amazon, because they're self-taught or they went to a boot camp or something. If you're motivated, the information is out there. You just got to get your hands, dirty and start playing around with the tools and learning about it. If you're self-motivated, then I highly recommend that. A lot of people do this even on the side. They have a something that they do in the daytime, and they do coding at night, or they do websites for people, or there's so many consulting opportunities available. And you're right, a lot of the technical, even the manufacturing jobs and the labor, the workforce in the factories, those jobs are becoming more and more technical. And so if you're not aware of it, if you don't have experience, you're going to be left behind. And so that's why it's so important. Like, I love doing stuff like this. I love what we do with the Bean Path. We have a whole team dedicated to, exposing people to these things and making sure that they're aware.
Yeah, and I think that it cannot be stressed enough. Especially in Jackson where you're doing it, and everybody watching later. I'm not advocating for anybody to not go to college, but if that's not something that you don't see yourself doing, there are all kinds of pathways to get into this field.
Absolutely.
Do you have a few questions from the students? This is Alonzo Johnson. He's in 9th grade. And he asked, in the Jackson Tech District, what will your technology mainly be focused on, and how will you make sure it stays focused on that?
Yeah, so we already are with the Bean Path. We've done our metaverse programs. We have a drone program we're about to launch, where students like you all can get your drone license and start making, another stream of income with that. We also have coding. That's my background, artificial intelligence. We do camps with youth in the area. We're going to expand those things over the next year. There's a maker space that we're building downtown Jackson. So we'll have, hands-on things, like you'll be able to, make 3D print things, or make something out of a wood machine, or use a laser cutter to, create something that whatever you can think of. We want you to come out and be able to have access to it. And us providing access to people who aren't necessarily associated with a college. That's really important for us too. And of course, the only way this works is that I have a team behind me, because obviously I have a full-time job, but we got a whole team of people that are helping. We were fortunately able to raise $650,000 last year. And that was the first year that we were able to raise that much. Before, it was kind of my money, just trying to, get us started for the first 3 years. But now we're off to the races, and I'm excited about what's to come.
Yeah, and with that drone program, we actually have a drone program at our VOTEC Center with Madison County Schools. So I'll definitely get in touch with them. But that's a partnership you want to seek in the future. They're always looking for opportunities. And now that our COVID restrictions are lifted, we'd love to have you come see us. Now, this is Reginald Cooper, and this is a great question. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, do you think, or how do you see AI changing in the future? For example, seeing self-driving cars.
Yeah, it's here. It's coming. It's here before you know it. I mean, they're already testing this in cities like Arizona, definitely in the Bay Area. Amazon just acquired a company called Zoox, Zoox, and they were an autonomous vehicle company. And Amazon is now putting their resources behind that to make that, more common and a reality. So yeah, it's definitely coming. I would love to get something like that in the Tech District, even just for almost like a trolley service back and forth to different areas in the downtown area. I mean, possibilities are endless. So again, you all are the next wave. So, your ideas, your expertise, I would definitely recommend start working on these things now.
Absolutely. Now, this is Camaria Smith. She's in 9th grade. She's one of our basketball players here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, have you always wanted to be in this career, or did it take some time to decide you wanted to do it?
I knew when I was actually in 8th grade, and my science teacher, she signed me up for this engineering camp in Mississippi State. I didn't even know what engineering was. I just wanted to get away from home. And so we did. I did the camp. It was 2 weeks, and it changed my life. I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is definitely what I want to do. I knew from that point on that that's what I wanted to do.
That's incredible. And to be able to stick with it like that. Now, this is Trevion Blackman, and he's in ninth grade. And he asked, what have been the major influences as you go throughout your career?
So definitely, having a good support system, like my family, they're there for me whenever I need it. And now they don't know what I do. I try to explain to them, but they're not tech people,
Always
but
goes like that. The older
yeah. But they support. They're like, hey, well, whatever you say. So, and I think also, being able to see, more diversity in the tech field is really important.
Absolutely.
They say you can't be what you can't see. So again, like I love doing these things to show, hey, it really doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like, you can be a part of this field. And the more diversity, the better, actually. So.
Absolutely. Now, I've got one more from the students. Now, this is Tatiana Jackson. She's in ninth grade, and this is something I'll always like to ask people. She said, "Is it hard being the person in charge when you run your own business?"
Yes, yes, yes. I've said that 3 times. But yeah, when everybody wants to be their own boss, and like, they don't understand, like, if you don't work, you don't eat.
Absolutely.
If I work, I'm fortunate, blessed enough to be able to do both. But at Amazon, if I don't show up for work, if I call in sick, then okay, Amazon is gonna be just fine. But for my own stuff, you know, you may not be able to produce, which means somebody on your team who has kids may not be able to feed their kids next month if you don't do your part. And so it's a huge responsibility, but the trade-off is that you get that freedom to kind of be your own boss. You get the freedom to do what you want to do. You call the shots, but you got to be wise about it. Otherwise, the business may not be successful, which is okay. Sometimes business fail all the time. But you really got to be diligent about, how do you be a successful entrepreneur, and just put forth every effort you can to make it survive.
Wow. And again, I always hear entrepreneurs say, I got all this training in my area, but I never learned how to run a business. It's important you learn how to do that. I mean, you can have the best idea in the world, you can be the best leader in the world, but if you don't know the business side of it, you're not going to be able to reach your market or profitize it, depending on what your goal is. But we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a crazy schedule, and we
Yeah,
thank you,
thanks.
and we thank you for fitting us in today.
Thanks
And
for reaching out. Yeah.
we would love to have you on campus next year, whenever we have everything lifted, to show us some of the stuff. And I'll definitely get you in contact with that drone program over at MCTC. But before we go, you've talked about, and you talked about in the video, your goal is really to diversify the tech field. And going to Mississippi State, you said you didn't see it. And you still don't see it now, and then in the Jackson area. So, obviously we're an all-black community here at Velma Jackson, and we'll have a lot of other minorities that watch this later. We'll have some Hispanics, we'll have some Asians that watch this. So it's important to know that groups like the Bean Path are there to make opportunities for these young people. So what can they do to make the most of these opportunities that people like the Bean Path are creating?
Yes, yes. And I definitely want to come out there, one day when I have time and I'm in town. We want to work with as many students and groups as possible. As far as the Bean Path, you can follow us at the Bean Path, or you can go to our website, thebeanpath.org, org, and you can sign up for a free tech help desk. And so, we have experts waiting to talk to you if you got questions. If you want to speak with me in particular, just put in the notes, say, I'd like to speak with Dr. Nashlie. She came to our class, and we'll be happy to talk to you. We'll get you scheduled in. We have them at least once a month. We're going to ramp up doing a lot more and move to in person as well. So yeah, definitely stay tuned, sign up for our newsletter. Check us out.
Oh, big stuff in the making. So again, Dr. Nashlie Sephus, thebeanpath.org, great social media follows, doing some major stuff here in Jackson, and really look forward to what's in the future. And I look forward to meeting you soon, my friend.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.
All right, thank you so much. See you.